Hey guys, I'm getting ready to condense about 4 hours into 10 minutes or so. And I've been kind of busy. I said while I was publishing the last video that as you were watching it, I would be taking the compound off and finishing up with Doozer's, finishing up what he said I had only half-assed. He didn't mean it that way, but I didn't understand what the function of these oil holes were. I had the oil going one direction into a dead hole, and he had it coming up from that hole, being pumped into the rest of the system. So, what he said made a lot of sense. Most of everything I had to take off was off the day before, so it's nice and clean, and I know how it goes together, and la-di-da-di. But we have undiscovered country here. So let me take you in. Okay, you see it's kind of obvious that we're missing the saddle. And here is the top of the apron. Now, on the top of the apron, big steel plate here. Okay, four slotted screws on each side. Okay, I've been asking about where the carriage lock is all this time, and I found it. And this screw holds the carriage down to the apron. These two screws have a different function, and then this hole here holds the carriage to the table. These two screws, you tighten them up, they lock the carriage. So as you tighten them, they pull this up against the bottom of the ways. Are we in the picture? No, you got it. You understand what it is. As you pull this up, you're lifting from the bottom of the ways there. So there's the carriage lock. These two screws here, these two really weren't doing much of anything. They're kind of, we'll have to try to re-tap it. They're, let me show you what they look like coming out. I had to use a magnet to drag them out. So, and compared to what the other ones look like, that we're actually doing something. But these, you know, they weren't even tight. Those threads aren't even engaging. So I'm not sure if I need to tap that out to a larger size or not worry about it. We'll see. Let me point out a few highlights here. Okay. This channel gets flooded with oil, and oil will run down this pipe to an area that is not known to me. These little areas here also are connected to oil lines, and those may be what feeds the saddle. Here we have just a set screw, and let's look down inside here, and let me show you the clutch for the for the carriage travel. And I'm going to have to vertigo your ass here. I guess I could have turned the video off. Okay, now I'll give you where we're at. And there's the handle. Let's go on down here. Now, I know what I can see, and I think you are seeing it as well. But we have a gear here. I don't know if you're seeing that or not. Maybe at a different angle you'll see it. I think you're seeing that, all right. Yeah, there's a sprocket right here. Now, in front of that sprocket, you got a shiny section there. And as I tighten the clutch, that shiny thing is going into that sprocket and engaging that sprocket and grabbing it. So, now when I take this and take it out, turn it out, you see this. Let me see if I can grab that. Well, anyway, I'm tightening the clutch. You watch that go in. And it's conical back here. And I imagine it's conical from the shiny side in also. So I know you can see the shiny part. And there it disappears because it's going into the sprocket. And now it's back out. Okay. Now, this is the cross slide situation. And don't worry that you can't see anything, because I can't see anything either. Okay. So, I'll get a flashlight later and go through there and look. And taking this saddle off is just not going to happen. And there's 3 feed rods going into that. And I'm not qualified to take that off. Now I might be able to take this whole section here off. But is that going to give me access to what I need to see for that clutch? And if I see it, am I going to be able to do anything about it? You know, it might not be likely. So, I do know this is clutch disengaged the way it is right now. So if I'm going to get this thing to turn, it's going to be clockwise, as if I was trying to engage the clutch. Because in the last video where this froze up, I loosened this up, I hit the clutch lever, slowed the machine down, and I switched directions on the feed and came back here, and this was locked up. So the last position it was in the free turning or the open. Why I mentioned that, I don't know. At least I know what direction to try to get the thing to move. Now, at least a possible trouble spot here is all this orange area is flooded with oil. Now there's with the exception of this area here, which is not orange, but we need to get oil down there because there's an oiler hole here to take oil somewhere. There's a felt oiler here. Well, there's a bit of casting here that's actually made a dam to prevent the oil from flowing in there easily. And this area down here was pretty much dry. So I'm going to get a grinder and grind that out so that we can be sure to get oil down here on this felt oiler. Going to order all new felts. I can tell these tubes are good. I blew on them. Put the air nozzle right around that, and I have in blue. You know, so I don't blow down there. You're going to clog it up. Well, already oil is coming up out of there. Now, the only exception is this one, and I'll work on that one with the drill bit. Just a drill bit and a pin vise. Okay. Carriage lock. Okay, let's go across the room here. Oh, and this was down. This is the only debris I found. And that was down here. Down here in the carriage travel clutch area. Okay, let's come around here. Now, all this you've seen. This is everything we had apart yesterday. Here's the cross slide. Here's the compound slide. Here's the bottom of the apron. And it's been cleaned up a bit. This is the back side. This holds the apron down to the machine ways, the bed ways. It's all ground for oil channels. This is nothing more than a bumper for hitting the tailstock, that I can tell. Now there is a kind of a rubber deal here, and I don't know if that is where the oil pumps oil up into this. Now, the holes that I neglected, okay, where's the other one? A little offset. Now, this is at least one of them, the hole that I only partially cleaned. So, there's only one on each side. So, something going on with my stupid... Yeah, I'm going to do with that now. I'm caught without a towel. So, basically, it's got hardening in the arteries or something. All I have to do is finish cleaning this up. And everything else is clean. And I need to get a flashlight and look down in that apron and see if I can't figure out a way to at least get a good look at the clutch situation on the cross slide travel. I feel pretty confident that it is going to start working again. Like I said, this 80 years this machine's been around. You know, it's been abused, I'm sure, more than I could even imagine doing, strictly accidentally. Okay, what am I doing now? Wow, are we close or what? Yesterday I took the compound, the cross slide off, cleaned it all up, and I got down to the taper slide, I'm going to call it. And there were two holes there. And I was assuming that those were blind holes. It just went down there and bottomed out against whatever the plate was sliding on in the dovetail. Well, apparently there's a pump and oil is coming up from there. So in the comments, Doozer pointed this out to me, that I only partially cleaned this thing. Of course, it was the very bottom, you know, the last thing I got to. So we're going to go back and take all this apart and get it cleaned properly. And I'm going to fire the lathe up with everything off to see if that is pumping oil up through those holes, as we hope will happen and should be happening from what I understand. So I think I had it wrong. I thought the oil was going down. Apparently the oil is coming up. So I got the camera set up on the table that I'm using to stack parts on. There's my camera mount. I wonder why I haven't made a bunch of those. I should have them all over the shop. And so there might be a little bumping, and that'll just be me setting something down on the table. Probably look a little bit like this. So and I'm not going to put you through the whole, you know, the whole disassembly, but I'll show myself turning a couple nuts. What we're going to show is cleaning out those holes. And as long as I got something to say, which I usually don't have any problem with. You know, when I was a teenager, you know, we smoked a lot of pot, and I didn't drink a lot of beer, but my buddies drank a lot of beer, and you know, we went fishing and, you know, driving around in our cars. And, well, you know, I think what I'm getting at is that there was a point in time where somebody would get sick of listening to me. So they learned at some point to just start talking about sports. And that shut me up immediately. They were all, oh, that's heavy, that's going right in the middle of the table. They were all drinkers. This all looks beautiful. And I wasn't so much. We would backpack into the wilderness to go fishing. So we would drive down a road that intersected the river. And we would, you know, get out. What we would needed to take out with us. This is night fishing, so we were gonna, you know, it's probably still daylight, but we're gonna be out there, you know, till 3 or 4 in the morning. And you know, it's probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, maybe, or whatever. So let's just say we park our cars along the river at the bridge, and we start walking down the east bank of the river, the east side of the river, and we hike in about a mile. Who knows how long it really was. And at one point we either wanted to be on the other side or we wanted to be on the little island out in the middle of the river. And we would get the biggest hooks we could find, and, you know, or snag put a big bluegill on it, and we would just throw the hooks out and wait till, basically, you know, wait till, you know, hope that you can grab the pole before it goes in the water. Okay. So, you know, I was the pothead, so you know, all I had to carry was a 2-liter of Pepsi and whatever I was smoking. Now my buddies, they were the drinkers, so they're packing, you know, a case of beer each. So on one particular weekend fishing trip or whatever, you know, we never arrived at the same time, because this guy got off work at 5 and this guy got off work at 6. So there was, you know, we knew where to go, and so over the course of a couple hours, everybody is in place, and we all got our poles in the water, and we've all touched our poles. And that meaning will become clear momentarily. You know, the drinkers are drinking and the smokers are smoking, and you know, we're watching our poles bend in the current. And in this particular case, we had to take off our pants, shoes, and socks to cross over an area onto an island. And so that's where we were at. Now I think we'll take this opportunity this time to, I'm going to stone all this, and I'm going to take all this blue off. So let's say it's 11 o'clock at night now. We've all been there fishing. We've all fished. And all of a sudden there's a game warden like standing 5 feet away from us. I mean, he come out of nowhere. And he really didn't have a problem with the weed. He didn't really have a problem with the alcohol. He saw that we were bagging all our trash and taking care of, you know, things in that manner. But his big concern is did everybody have a fishing license? And as it turned out, it was not the case with one of our fellows. He was on leave from the Navy, and didn't have a fishing license, was belligerently drunk. I mean, gonzo, and kept insisting that he hadn't fished. Of course, the game warden stayed in the background and waited for everybody to touch their pole before he made his presence known. And turns out that he had followed us all to this spot. So, for instance, I get out of my car and I start hiking back, and he hears someone coming up from behind him, so he slides off to the left or right and lets me pass him, and then he slides in behind me and follows me on in. So he did that with every one of us. And he really didn't want to take my buddy to jail. And all my buddy had to do is admit that he had fished without his license, and the guy was going to give him a break. And it took quite a while for him to realize it'd be in his best interest to fess up. And so the game warden's getting ready to leave now. And he's been back there sitting and listening to us long enough that his clothes had all dried out. Because he didn't know the trick about taking his pants off and his shoes and socks. So by the end of it, he was asking us how to get back across without getting totally soaked. As far as fishing goes, the extent of my experience was, you know, the biggest hook, the biggest bait, dough ball or whatever, and try to catch the pole before it gets pulled out into the river. We would catch shovelhead, channel, cat, shovelhead cat, carp. Our rivers are infested with carp. Okay, that's my fishing story. Okay, I think I'm forgetting this. Yeah, that's what I was forgetting. The hammer. Okay, order of operation, I probably could have left that half nut where it was and done that later. So let me see if that's going to protect the ways there. Is that balance good? And also, there's my nut, and the slitted side goes to the out to the back. And everything is stamped 291. All the parts 281. You can see there 281. This is 281. I wonder if the gib is marked 281. It is indeed 281. And of course, this is indeed marked. I'm not a big fan of stacking stuff up here, but that's a sturdy piece of cardboard. So these are the two holes in question. And it has been suggested to me that those holes are to bring oil up, not as I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking, but it doesn't really make any swell. Yeah, I was thinking that the oil went down to this surface, and this surface is what this entire piece slides on. And while I have this off today, again, I am going to try to bring this taper slide back towards me to give me more space on my cross slide, more negative space, I guess, so I can come back further and turn. I can turn on something 6 inches in diameter and not have my cross slide screw being really tight. Okay, I'm going to get a couple supplies and I'll bring you back. It's a 2500 grit paper. Whoa, look at that. Come on now. I took a paint marker to this today, and obviously painted the whole thing black. So now we have forward, off, reverse, style KS4, Batavia, Illinois. Approved by the Underwriters Laboratory, made United States. Okay, looking for a patent number. Let's see it. FUR, Furnace, NAS, Furnace Electric Company. Reverse, off, forward. Kind of nothing there to there. Actuated, big off, big range for off. Okay. Let's see if we can get you. There we go. Okay. Okay, there is the thing I was worried about losing. I told you I was afraid when I loosened up the screws I would drop something. Yeah. Okay. And that is, so the rod that does the, I'm bringing in there so you see it. It's hard for me to touch anything because I'm covered in grease. Okay. So this is the shifter for the direction change of the feed shaft. That's all chips. So this, before I forget where it came from, is a lock that locks the carriage. So where are those at? So this is okay, let's go over here. Okay, this hole here is this screw. Okay, so Got that. Okay, this hole here, the furthest most screw, is here, and it holds this plate down. The next two screws, which is the equivalent of these two, only they're over here, they grab this and pull this up and lock the carriage. So those two screws are the carriage lock. Voila. And that has to be just where it's supposed to be when you put this thing back on. Otherwise, they're not going to line up. Okay, so that's pretty cool. We found the carriage lock. Who would have known? And don't know what we're going to do. Okay, we got here the bottom of the apron. It's basically the last thing I need to clean. The nastiest part of it is the plate on the back that holds it tight up against the ways from the bottom. And someone's been at the slitting saw again with this. You recall they did some slitting on the nut. No, this ain't so bad. It's pretty heavy up here. And it's nothing that, well, maybe we'll find something in there interesting. Okay, this is the, like I said, this is the bottom. Holds the far end of the cradle down to the bedways from underneath. It's got a couple of machine surfaces here and here, and they got the slitting saw on here, and there should be a number on here, 291. Well, this basically goes to the outside. So this goes right here and holds the you can see the gap right there where it holds it to the bed. So, like I said, this is the last piece to be cleaned, really, this section. So I don't know how much of that we're going to do tonight. This will be a challenge here. Well, not really. Just shows you the amount. That's nice. Where the hell is it at? Yeah. Okay.